It's June, and what happened in Edmonton's real estate market for the month of May? Well, we're going to talk about that in this video. So the month of May is typically the busiest time of year that we see in Edmonton's real estate market. Why is that? There's a few different factors every year that makes May typically one of the busiest times of year. Because May is a time you buy a house and you're still able to move in the summertime and still be able to enjoy the bit of summer that we have in Edmonton before school starts and everyone wants to be settled before then. Spring has started, the snow is melting. This year we've had a little bit of a delay in the weather. And did that delay our sales? Well, like I mentioned in videos past, February was the height of our market. Definitely was absolutely crazy busy, multiple offers, well over a list, no conditions, where the only way that you as a buyer was gonna win and you as a seller were just needing to pick best offer for yourself and just prepare yourself for sale. And that was February. We held on to that in March and we started to see a shift in the market in April. You might be hearing on the news that the market's shifting, and it definitely is, but it already started in April. So for the month of May, we did continue to see the market shift. Now, when we say shift, what does that mean? It's not a bad thing. When it goes so extreme to the seller side and so extreme to the buyer side, that's not always the most ideal. It's super stressful, especially if you're looking at buying and selling in the same market. So yeah, you're getting a ton of money for your house and you're gonna sell it really quickly, but then where are you gonna move, right? When you're in a buyer's market, you have so many houses to choose from, but what if you find your dream home and you can't sell your house? So we're kind of not in either extreme right now. We are in a more balanced market. So if you take a look at the active listings, we're up month over month and year over year. So May was still quite busy, and we saw a very busy month for the month of May as well. For all of our sellers and our buyers, we had probably the most amount of listings we put on this year was in the month of May. Now for the number of sales, they did go down slightly for month over month and year over year. So the average days on market is still pretty quick. Well, it was in May anyways. It was sitting at 23 days, same as the month before. And if you look at last year, it's just slightly lower than it was last year. So still a better time to sell this year than it was last year. Last year, we started to see the average days on market increase over the summer months, which is quite typical. And I do expect that we're gonna see that again this summer. So when you take a look at the market distribution, you'll see that we still have over just under 28% sell between the $400 to $499 range. And you'll also see the next most popular price point is $300 to $399. Then just slightly below that is $500 to $599. Now we did have quite a bit of sales over $1 million this year. We're just sitting under 100 properties out of the 5,151 that have sold this year, that sold over $1 million. And we did see an increase between the $600,000 to the $999 price range. A big reason why we're seeing an upward trend, the bell curve is always the same, but we're seeing an upward trend of average price is because the average price has gone up. So what used to be $450 is now $500 to $550, depending on if you're looking at new builds or resale. Now we're finding in the new builds, things are at least $50,000 to $100,000 more. In February, in the resale market, we saw an over 15% increase just in 1 month. We saw in March, it didn't increase as much, but it was still higher than the previous month. So you'll see that if you take a look at the average price as of May 2022, we're just slightly lower than we were last month, but we're still higher than we were last year. So we're still up over just under 5% higher than we were last year. So like I said, if you're looking to sell, it's still a better time to sell this year than it was last year. Now, a word of caution to you sellers who've been kind of sitting there waiting, hoping and waiting for that best time to sell to get the most amount of money. You have to understand the market is changing. You cannot ask for $50,000 more than last market sale. Last couple months ago in February, we'd put a house at market value and it could sell easily 10 to 12 to 15% over our market value. So what people were trying to do was they were trying to outsmart the market and list it higher. But guess what? Now it's coming to bite you in the butt, unfortunately, because the market's caught up and there's a little bit more choices. Buyers don't have to be so quick to move anymore. Now, that being said, as a buyer, you should still move quickly if you want a good deal. But there is abilities to negotiate now. So as a seller, the biggest piece of advice is to be very careful with your pricing strategy. It is very important how you price your home and how you react, because sometimes there's no way to completely predict what the house is gonna sell for. You can go on market stats, but then there's real life, and we have to respond. Maybe we got put on the market just as the cusp started to change, and we saw that at the end of May. We saw the market trying to shift, and so what was and could have sold really quickly at the beginning of May, at the end of May, it started to change quite a bit. So overall, the price has changed quite a bit year over year if you look at the last 10-year trend, and people keep wondering if the interest rates is what is causing the demand to go down. And I'll tell you, I think from experience, demand is going down because buyers are exhausted on competing for multiple offers and they're not winning. And so we're seeing a lot less multiple offers. You'll still see them if the house is priced properly and it's in a desirable neighborhood, it's move-in ready, but you're not gonna see it anymore on those houses that maybe are just on the line of being affordable or people have overthought it. As a buyer, you're able to have conditions again, so that's always a good thing, especially like I mentioned earlier, if you're looking to buy and sell, this is a really prime market for you to do that in. You can still move before school ends, you can still get your house sold, and you don't have to worry about the snow. I know I just said the S word in June, but let's take a look at what's gonna happen for the June market. We're already seeing quite a bit of a quieter month compared to May, and I suspect we will continue to see the average days on market go up, and the average price isn't gonna be going down significantly. I think a lot of people are thinking maybe it'll come down 10%, but I don't see that. I do think that overall, we're still probably gonna see a 10% increase over price year over year. We're sitting at about 7%, so then maybe 10% is a little generous, but we'll see what happens and we'll talk to you next month.